Yup, we are live.
Good evening, everyone. We'll start the knowledge session within 1-2 minutes. We'll just wait for attendees to join and then we'll start. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Aviral. I'm representing Praja Foundation. On behalf of National Institute of Urban Affairs, UN Habitat, and Praja Foundation, I welcome you all in Prajatantra 2023 National Youth Festival Knowledge Session on inclusive public spaces and resilient urban economics. As you know, we have started this knowledge session after the successful registration of participant boot camps. We discussed on a lot of the issues related to urban governance. We discussed about the water governance and water management in cities, and also learned about urban finance, municipal finance yesterday. Today's knowledge session will focus on and giving you an understanding about urban economics and how we can make inclusive public spaces for resilient urban economics. जैसे आपको सबको पता है, हम नॉलेज सेशन आप सबकी तैयारी के लिए, आप सबकी कंपटीशन, जिस कंपटीशन की आप प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं, चाहे वो मेयर स्पीच कंपटीशन हो, चाहे वो पॉलिसी प्रेजेंटेशन कंपटीशन हो ऑन अर्बन इकोनॉमिक्स और म्युनिसिपल फाइनेंस, चाहे आप डिबेट कंपटीशन में पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हो, चाहे आप क्विज या फिर ओपन राइटिंग, ये सारे नॉलेज सेशंस जिसमें हमने अर्बन गवर्नेंस, म्युनिसिपल फाइनेंस और वाटर मैनेजमेंट के बारे में सीखा। इवन आज का जो नॉलेज सेशन जिसमें हम रेजिलेंट अर्बन इकोनॉमिक्स के लिए और इन रोल ऑफ इंक्लूसिव पब्लिक स्पेसेस का क्या महत्वपूर्ण रहने वाला है, इसके ऊपर में सीखें। To start with the introduction, I know now you all know about and will be proud of being a part of Prajatantra event. Prajatantra National Youth Festival is now in the 5th form, where we are now organizing this National Youth Festival with National Institute of Urban Affairs and UN Habitat. This year, we have received 343 registration. More than 1,800 participation have registered for the event. And those who are representing from 26 states, 6 union territories, and 100 plus cities and towns from India. We are happy to share that last year, the National Youth Festival were part of the G20, Y20, and Urban 20 platforms, where the finalists have presented their ideas to these people around to give them an idea about the challenges what they are facing and their vision to solve the challenges. आपको जैसे मैंने कहा, हम आज इस नॉलेज सेशन में, इवन इस प्रजातंत्र फेस्टिवल में रिप्रेजेंटेशन है हमारा हर स्टेट से, जहां पे आप देखेंगे राइट फ्रॉम जम्मू एंड कश्मीर, राइट फ्रॉम केरला, राइट फ्रॉम गुजरात, नॉर्थ, साउथ, ईस्ट, वेस्ट. This Prajatantra event is truly a national youth festival where we are eagerly waiting for your ideas of your cities to tell us about what we can improve, what we can learn, and how we can be prepared for future. आज के इस नॉलेज सेशन में हमारे साथ पुष्कल शिवम, who is an urban planner from UN Habitat, and also our speaker, Parul Agrawal, who is the country program manager at UN Habitat, will be a part of our knowledge session today, where we will discuss about inclusive public spaces for resilient urban economies. आज का ये सेशन आप सबको हेल्प करेगा आपके पॉलिसी प्रेजेंटेशन, मेयर स्पीच कॉम्पिटिशंस और बाकी सारे कॉम्पिटिशंस में प्रिपरेशन में. तो मैं चाहूंगा और मेरी टीम चाहेगी कि आप आज के Q&A राउंड के थ्रू आप अपने क्वेश्चंस अभी से या एंड ऑफ द सेशन आप पूछें, ताकि हमारे स्पीकर से हम और बेहतर तरीके से सीख सकें अबाउट अर्बन इकोनॉमिक्स एंड द रोल ऑफ public spaces, inclusive public spaces. With that context, I just hand over this floor to Pushkal to set the context and also, most important, introduce our speakers of the day. Over to you, Pushkal.
Thank you so much, Aviral. मैं हमारे audience है आज हमारी. I would want to take some time to first talk a little bit about UN Habitat and its work. The UN Habitat, United Nations Human Settlements Program, is mandated by the UN General Assembly to promote socially and environmentally sustainable towns and cities. तो ये जो संयुक्त राष्ट्र की जो व्यवस्था है उसमें शहरीकरण से जुड़े हुए सारे विषय और मानवीय जो सेटलमेंट्स ह्यूमन सेटलमेंट्स हैं उनसे जुड़े हुए सारे विषयों के लिए यूएन हैबिटेट एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण स्तंभ है जो संयुक्त राष्ट्र की सिस्टम है, व्यवस्था है उसके अंदर. So UN Habitat works with partners to build inclusive, safe, resilient and sustainable cities and communities. And we seek to promote urbanization as a positive transformative force for people and communities, reducing inequality, discrimination and poverty. UN Habitat ने 90 से ज्यादा कंट्रीज में काम कर रहे हैं और एक ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव चेंजेस प्रमोट कर रहे हैं थ्रू नॉलेज, पॉलिसी एडवाइस, टेक्निकल असिस्टेंस एंड कोलैबोरेटिव एक्शन. और जो हमारा जो स्ट्रेटेजिक प्लान है उसके तहत जो भी काम है उसे 4 शब्दों में समराइज किया जा सकता है. वो है थिंक, डू, शेयर एंड पार्टनर. तो इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में आज we have an opportunity to hear from Parul Agarwala. Parul is the country program manager of UN Habitat India. इस रोल में Parul has worked in promoting sustainability, inclusion and resilience in urban planning and management and financing in over 8 developing countries and transition countries. So हमारे जितने भी participants हैं उन्हें आज एक truly global perspective मिलने वाला है. She has extensive experience in translating complex urban policies and regulations into actionable community-led projects for local transformations. Her interests are in building robust urban ecosystems that integrate local economic development in planning for realizing the potential of cities as economic engines. तो शहर और हमारे शहरों की जो आर्थिक व्यवस्था है, ये linkages जिसके बारे में आज का विषय भी है, उसमें खास रुचि है पारुल की. And prior to UN Habitat, Parul used to work as a city planner in the New York City Department of City Planning, and subsequently with the World Bank's Global Practices for Urban Disaster Risk and Social Development, as well as in other international consulting firms. Parul has a master's in public administration from Columbia University, New York, as well as a master's in planning from University of Southern California in Los Angeles. Really an illustrious speaker for today's audience and the topic that we have. जो आज हमारा आज का जो टॉपिक है, इंक्लूसिव पब्लिक स्पेसेस फॉर अर्बन इकोनॉमीज. ये पैंडेमिक के वक्त, कोविड-19 पैंडेमिक के वक्त जब हम सब 4 दीवारी में बंद थे, तो उस समय इसका महत्व, पब्लिक स्पेसेस या सार्वजनिक जगह का जो महत्व है वो हम सबको एक कलेक्टिव लेवल पे समझ में आया. और जो the linkages of public spaces with health and well-being of our population is something that came out very strongly. और एक broad level पे हम जो हमारी आर्थिक व्यवस्था है उसका शहरों से क्या linkages है, उससे क्या relationship है, वो हम समझते हैं. लेकिन आज के जो इस सेशन में हम शहरों के अंदर हमारे जो पब्लिक स्पेसेस हैं, जो पार्क्स हो गए, हमारे गार्डन्स हो गए, हमारे स्ट्रीटस्केप्स हो गए, उसका हमारी शहरी आर्थिक व्यवस्था से क्या संबंध है, उसके ऊपर काफी विस्तार से हम पारुल हमें बताएंगी. एंड पर्टिकुलरली जो पब्लिक स्पेसेस हैं उनका हमेशा से एक कंपीटिंग क्लेम्स रहा है हमारे शहरों में. तो पब्लिक स्पेसेस क्या है, किसके लिए है, कैसा होना चाहिए, उसका पर्पस क्या है, ये बदलता है. इस पे डिपेंड करता है कि आप किस स्टेक होल्डर से बात कर रहे हैं, या फिर उनका इकोनॉमिक लोकेशन क्या है या सोशल लोकेशन क्या है. तो ये एक काफी कंटेस्टेड विषय है, लेकिन इसका आर्थिक व्यवस्था से बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण संबंध है. इन द सेंस दैट अगर आप सब न्यूज फॉलो कर रहे होंगे, और वी नो फ्रॉम रीसेंट डेटा सेट्स, हालांकि तो हम जानते हैं कि हमारे 50% से ज्यादा जो हमारा पॉपुलेशन है, that is under 35, almost 65% of our population is under 35. So demographically we are an overwhelmingly young country. लेकिन जो हमारी जो युवा हैं जिन्हें ट्रेनिंग या एजुकेशन में है, वो रिसेंट सर्विस के हिसाब से सिर्फ 39% ट्रेनिंग एजुकेशन में है। और हमारे वर्कफोर्स को देखें तो दैट इज इवन मोर ऑन दी, इट्स एजिंग वेरी फास्ट। तो बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो 25 से 35 की कैटेगरी में है, लेकिन 45 के ऊपर की हमारी वर्कफोर्स की पॉपुलेशन बढ़ रही है। तो इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हम आज हमारी पब्लिक स्पेसेस को कैसा बनाएं ताकि जो हमारी शहरों की, हमारी आर्थिक व्यवस्था इन जनरल एंड आर अर्बन इकोनॉमीज इन पर्टिकुलर may be more conducive to the young people as well as the population at large. So, ये है आज का context, and without much ado, if I may hand over to Parul for today's session. Over to you, Parul.
Parul, you can unmute yourself. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you. Yes. So thank you, Viral, and thank you, Pushkal, for setting the stage. So, जैसे कि आज हम discuss कर रहे हैं, the connection we want to make, before I move into the presentation, I also want to share with everyone that has joined that हर साल on the first Monday of every October, we celebrate the World Habitat Day. और इस साल का जो वर्ल्ड हैबिटेट डे की थीम है दैट इज आल्सो वेरी सिमिलर टू दिस competition. It is on urban economies and how we can make the urban economies more inclusive and resilient. And we are very pleased that इतने सारे youth colleges से हमें इतना अच्छा feedback और response मिला है, which shows that ये जो theme है urban economy का कितना जरूरी है for various reasons, for employment, for the growth, for shared prosperity of cities and our country. So if you can project the screen for the slide, Pushkal, I can take us through that. तो आज जो presentation है इसमें we want to make we want to link three things: youth, public spaces और resilient urban economies. जो हमारा मानना है that first of all, let's begin with understanding what is the youth ecosystem. So if you go to the next slide, yes, sorry, the public spaces. So UN Habitat May, we believe that cities need to give a lot of importance to the public spaces generally. And the reason for that is that that ये जो public spaces हैं, इनकी definition काफी broad हो सकती है. So ये सिर्फ parks, open spaces, gardens तक ही limited नहीं है, but even as in cities, जो हमारे प्लाजास हैं, जो गैदरिंग एरियाज होती हैं एट द एंड ऑफ द रोड्स एंड स्ट्रीट इंटरसेक्शन, जो मोहल्लों में पुराने स्टाइल में जो प्लानिंग होती थी नेबरहुड्स की, ऑल ऑफ दोज दैट जो हमारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं, म्यूजियम्स हैं, अदर टाइप्स ऑफ यूजेस जो होते हैं जहाँ पे लोग आते हैं, all of that is a type of public space जहाँ पे which provide people an opportunity to convene, to come together. और हम समझते हैं ऐसे UN agency that जैसे हम शहर डिजाइन कर रहे हैं, बना रहे हैं, we need to invest in more of these public spaces. In fact, we promote that even roads, जो हमारे सड़कें हैं, we consider even those as a public space. And the reason for that is that there is a lot of discussion, आपने भी सुना होगा, that roads are not just for cars but for people. And so how can we make that infrastructure, this network, to be more inclusive, to be more resilient? और जो आप ये diagram देख रहे हैं, इसमें we have identified what are some of the important parameters of a good public space. What are the contributors to it? So certainly climate, heritage, जो आपका हमारे जो monuments हैं, सब के आगे there's always a nice gathering space for people to convene. Other aspects of health, gender, and youth is a very, very important parameter to consider. The reason for that is, as we'll see on the next slide, that everywhere we are talking about the youth bulge, and especially in the global south, जो developing countries हैं वहाँ पर the youth population is much higher. As you can see, कि 60% of the urban population 2030 तक will be under 18 years. And in the global south, जो हम developing countries की बात करें, उनमें already 70% could be under 30 years. And over the next 20-30 years, India के लिए सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी इसलिए है because we have a very large youth population, and as a country we will continue to be a young country until 2050, 2060. तो अभी जो भी हम जिन भी चीज़ों में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, किस तरीके से शहर डिजाइन कर रहे हैं, we have to make those designs. We have to think of our economy. We have to think of livelihoods in that context. So हमारी ये young generation है, how can we benefit that? And so we are really looking forward to hearing ideas from you through this competition. कि आप लोगों में क्या innovations, ideas हैं that we can also incorporate as we design our programs. So the youth bulge is a very important global phenomena. If we go to the next slide now, so these public spaces, as Pushkal already alluded to, I think we all realized all over the world कि ये open spaces कितनी ज़रूरी है in any city, जहाँ पर हम convene हो सके, बाहर निकल सके, and just enjoy them in through many different uses. और इन ये forums हैं, ये जो public spaces हैं, इनका inclusive होना कितना ज़रूरी है, that they do not restrict access to somebody because of the income or age or gender or a lot of these other criteria, that they should be inclusive, where everyone should be equally welcome. तो ये जो public spaces हैं, अब इनका और aspects से क्या relationship है, which we'll cover in the next few slides. So सबसे पहले public spaces के होने की वजह से they certainly have a very good economic, provided good economic opportunity. And this is something that we all experience. India के आपने research कर रहे होंगे. So one of the biggest fact about India's economy is that 70 to more than 80% of our economy is informal. Which means that जो हम अपने urban environment में भी देखते हैं, there is so much activity going on along the streets, on the sidewalks, in smaller shops, which are not formal spaces, but they, at the end of the day, these are all small entrepreneurs, innovators in the informal economy that are looking for a space to convene. And the only space that is available to them is in the form of public space, because of the economics, they are not able to rent a shop or a retail or commercial space. So, which is one of the reasons कि हमारी informal economy का size इतना बड़ा है, and then how can we now benefit from this sizable economy by making that connection, public space और economy का जो link है, उसको हम और कैसे formalize करें. I think that is one of the efforts. So public spaces give us an opportunity to create jobs that can provide that mix of formal and informal space, and also connect communities. The second important benefit is the social benefit. So again, जो हमारा शहर, what makes a city thrive is the mix of people. Mix of people coming from different regions, from different parts of the city, from different countries, different age group. और ये जो public spaces हैं, we see that these are the areas जहाँ पे कोई भी convene हो सके, जिससे लोग आपस में बातें करेंगे, तो उससे society में cohesion भी बनेगा, that people improve their trust amongst different communities. It will create better and more vibrant societies. So we see that there is a big social benefit, and इसके लिए something to consider is that one challenge that we see is also that हर शहर में ये जो social spaces होती है, public spaces बराबर नहीं है. So we see a lot of inequalities in the way these public spaces are distributed within the city. So some parts might have more options to convene, other parts of the city may not have. And so how do we respond to these types of inequalities through providing better public spaces? And because people are coming together, so वो आपस में बात करते हैं, discussion करते हैं, that also then improves their learning and information, just knowing different things. The third benefit we see is also the psychological benefit, and this is where we see an important link with the health. So to how to improve the physical activity, public spaces can provide that. Well designed public spaces, हम किस तरीके से अपने फुटपाथ साइडवॉक्स बनाते हैं, किस तरीके से ये recreational opportunities, ये sports complex बनाते हैं, all have impact on the psychological and physical well-being of our communities, and especially youth. Other aspects are on the safety, कितनी safe हैं ये जगहें, जगह जो design होती है, और उनमें safety parameters कैसे बढ़ाएं. Diversity of age groups, as हम देख रहे हैं, there are specific types of activities which are good for the children, but then as you age, there are different types of activities that might interest. So to summarize, I mean, quite a lot of benefits of public spaces. We have seen economically क्या benefits हो सकते हैं, socially, and also in terms of the health and well-being. In the following slides, I will show you specifically the economic linkages किस तरीके से promote कर सकते हैं through public spaces. But before that, again, I want to reiterate that some key aspects कि किस तरीके से public spaces में क्या parameters, क्या principles होने चाहिए. So inclusion is one very important principle, that कोई हम design में access में कोई inequality ना रखें. We should design them in a way that everybody is welcome. Everybody is can actually use the space. It should welcome the diversity of people from different backgrounds. And here again, it's important that हम public spaces ऐसे बनाए जिससे जो लोग disabled and that the spaces are in a way that even differently able persons can enjoy them. We have to look at designing public spaces that can provide multifunctional uses, कि सिर्फ economic benefit ही नहीं हो, health benefit भी हो उनका, educational benefit भी हो सकता है, की opportunities भी वो create कर सकते हैं. Climate change की हम जो बात कर रहे हैं कि शहर cities are getting so warmer, so these places can provide us opportunity to make them more green and more vibrant and cool the city's environment. So diversity, inclusion, and variety of these public spaces are important in a city. If we go to the next slide. So अब ये सिर्फ मैं आपको थोड़ा सा इंक्लूसिव इकोनॉमी और पब्लिक स्पेसेस क्या लिंक के बारे में ज़्यादा फोकस करते हुए एग्जांपल्स देती हूँ. So in this slide, so what can be a good example of resilient urban economy and public space? As you can see, a very vibrant public plaza, which probably used to be a road जहाँ पर cars आती होंगी, but this is a city that is completely transformed that and has made it walkable. So it has become, the road has become a large public space. It is attracting more people. It is promoting tourism and growth. So the idea being that अगर हम लोगों को चलने की एक ऐसा environment बनाए where people find it interesting to walk and see what's going on, then they will also then support the local economy more. They will go to the coffee shops. They will sit and read a book. They will, look at other types of activities, arts, crafts going in their cities. So, so some specific examples. I'll move to the next slide, please. So yes, so the first one is that these spaces can create market exposure, economic diversification. So ये हम अपने शहरों में भी देख रहे हैं. So on how to connect ये जो farm to table की concept है, how do we increase the exposure of the farmers directly to the cities is an example, but a lot of other types of examples can be applied. Maybe for those of you who are from Delhi, they might know the food gardens, the stalls, vegetable stalls set up in Sundar Nursery. that promote that mixing of farmers and local communities to see, to learn and engage. The next slide, please. Similarly, on public spaces can also provide a platform to the youth to showcase some new innovation. So we can design public spaces in a way जो हमारे startups हैं, जो innovations आ रहे हैं, talent की, they can test those out. They can get feedback. We have seen a lot of examples of people pitching new ideas. तो ये सब जो youth centric opportunities हैं, हम किस तरीके से शहरों को डिजाइन करें, and we think that public spaces provide a good platform where they can make use of the people who gather in the evening or for whatever purpose to share some new ideas and pitch, show new concepts. And the next slide, please. And then also in creating these public spaces, we want to we encourage that youth should be an equal partner, that all these solutions are co-created with the youth. And हम लोग काफी इस पे काम कर रहे हैं on how to formalize the youth engagement with the municipal corporations, municipalities, for example, which is also something we would like to hear more from as part of the competition challenge. कि लोग youth का governance में कैसे share बढ़ सकता है. So again, an example, उसका direct application public spaces किस तरीके से design होती हैं, उस पर भी होगा. On using more digital tools, more visual tools, models to bring youth and communities together so that they can design the spaces collectively. Next slide, please. Yes, so some examples here कि public spaces में आपके किस तरीके से public spaces में आप economy को promote कर सकते हैं. So the first one is ये food trucks, food stalls. आजकल काफी शहरों में, इंडिया में भी ये कॉन्सेप्ट हो गया है कि ये फूड ट्रक्स अलग-अलग जगह में शहरों में जाते हैं, and they keep tweeting and sharing their location for people to go and enjoy the food. Artisan markets हैं, ये दिल्ली में एग्जांपल है, ये दिल्ली हाट का, जहाँ पर ये पब्लिक स्पेस की तरीके से ही बनाया गया है, where people can come together, small artists can showcase their crafts, traditional crafts. The second, next slide, please. Similarly, जो pop-up shops हैं, ये भी काफी useful हैं, came from the perspective of sharing new innovations. कि शुरू में जो आपके नए creative ideas हैं, public spaces can provide an opportunity to discuss with the communities, share your idea, and then improve it, refine it based on whatever feedback you're getting. So again, public spaces, these can provide that opportunity. Youth को कैसे engage करें, local communities को कैसे engage करें. So the way we design our spaces also provide that. Entertainment performances, और youth को हमने काफी इंडिया से बाहर के countries में काम किया है, जहाँ पे youth collectives बने हैं, especially in informal areas and slums, where they have looked at कि हमारे जो neighborhood हैं, उनमें से किस तरीके का waste इकट्ठा हो रहा है, उसको हम कैसे recycle करें, and those youth initiatives, जो youth groups बने हैं, they have transformed them into art, जो आपके example देख रहे हैं. So again, that's a good opportunity for the youth to think creatively, make the public spaces more design friendly, and also then look at how to improve the environment. Fitness and wellness services हैं, technology, digital services की applications कैसे कर सकें. इसमें आपने देखा होगा safety pin जो एक tool है, काफी digital tools हैं जो cell phone के through आप देख सकते हैं अपनी public spaces और बाकी communities में कैसे improvement करें. And the last few applications, examples are community gardening. आजकल बहुत focus हो रहा है food security पे, and maybe some of you already know कि because of climate change, which is human induced, अभी इसमें कोई doubt नहीं है कि जो climate change हो रहा है वो human activities की वजह से ही हो रहा है. और इसका जो अभी जो इफेक्ट ऑलरेडी हो गया है उसकी वजह से इंडिया इज अमंग्स द मोस्ट फूड इनसिक्योर कंट्री इन द वर्ल्ड. तो उस पर हमें काफी काम करना है एज अ कंट्री, सो दैट इन द नेक्स्ट 10-20 years जो क्लाइमेट की वजह से एक्सट्रीम हीट, एक्सट्रीम रेन, ये वाले जो पीरियड्स हैं उसमें हम एज अ कंट्री फूड सिक्योरिटी को कैसे मेंटेन कर सकें, विच इज अ बिग चैलेंज. सो अगेन इन पब्लिक स्पेसेस इट प्रोवाइड्स एन अपॉर्चुनिटी कि आप लोकली कम्युनिटीज को कैसे वो चीजें वेजिटेबल्स के थ्रू या whatever you are providing them. And also again many applications बच्चों के लिए, how can we make the environment better. There are problems of air quality, so again greening spaces so that they can come together and play. So I think this is the last slide. And I'm happy to discuss more. But I will encourage everyone that you please go on our website and look through our Global Public Spaces program to get more examples of case studies on these aspects. Thank you.
Yes, Parul, thank you so much for the presentation. I hope this brings a lot of perspective to the participants in terms of the probable solutions that we discussed. It talked about a lot of basics, like for example, yesterday we were having a discussion about what to promote, what are the key points we can add, think about cities में हम कैसे अपने urban economics से related city development, GDP development के हम कैसे काम कर सकते हैं. So this presentation really helped participants to learn more about specific initiative that they can propose in their like policy presentations, the mayor speech competition, and other things as well. Now we are opening a floor for the question answer round. I request all participants to raise their use the chat box, use the Q&A box to raise their questions. I can see a couple of questions, Parul, already in the chat box. It talked about mainly, like for example, how to bring ecology to make public spaces actually more resilient. This is by Parvati. This is a very interesting question because now you also talk about and think about involving green spacing, creating more green spaces in our cities right now. There are a lot of initiatives. I also request you to share about the urban forest initiative that the NCAP also pushed, and maybe you can share these ideas to the participants as well to support you.
Yes.
Please.
So thank you, Viral, and thank you, Parvati, for first of all raising such an important topic. We've got another little youth who's intruding. So, no, I think so. It is very, very important to use the public spaces wisely, and I say that with with a lot of stress on encouraging landscape architects, and maybe there are some planners, engineers to think more out of the box. पब्लिक स्पेसेस का जो क्लाइमेट पर अर्बन इकोलॉजी पे इम्पैक्ट हो सकता है, दैट कैन बी वेरी वेरी well done if we apply some more evidence-based, more better solutions. So for instance, ये हम जो देखते हैं ज़्यादातर that we design the parks as just grass with some play equipments. Versus we can think of more nature-based solutions जो हम अभी promote कर रहे हैं, which means
I think we lost connection, Parul's connection. Not a problem. I can see a lot of questions coming up from participants. I'll just club these questions and we'll then have to answer. I'll just go one by one. I'll just collect all these questions. I'll just read and then we'll wait for Parul to answer for this. As I can see,
I'm sorry,
I
got disconnected. Apologies.
Not a problem.
Yes. So urban ecology का मैं बात कर रही थी कि हम किस तरीके की landscaping planting कर रहे हैं, types of trees, types of greenery that we are bringing, that we are putting in the gardens. which all have impact on a lot of things on urban flooding. जहाँ पे open spaces and they can act as places where the urban flood water collects. जैसे आसपास में जो हम फ्लडिंग की आजकल देख रहे हैं, रोज न्यूज़पेपर में आ रहा है, शहरों में पानी भर गया है. These especially आपके जो gardens हैं, a neighborhood garden can act as places to remove or to reduce some of that problem. Urban forest की जरूरत है. Air quality की इतनी problem है. Most of the cities in India have suffered from the poor air quality. So how can we? So these again spaces can act as lungs for the city, and we see examples of this in many across many global cities which we appreciate and where we want to visit, be it the big park, the Hyde Park in London, or in the heart of Paris, or in New York, the Central Park. Singapore is known as a green city. So we see that most of these cities that are also globally known as global economic hubs complement that with equally important environmental benefits to their citizens and communities. So I hope I helped in
Yes.
sharing some thoughts.
Yes, Parul. There are a lot of interesting questions coming up from participants. I'll just quickly read and then we'll try to club all these questions so we can have your input. I can see interesting question from Shivangi. So Prachi as well. Urban economics may there are a lot of loneliness. Like for example, this section we are not, the cities are not thinking about as a whole about to promote urban economics. How we can like to take the shift to think about, even start thinking about promoting for urban economics. I know the solutions that we are talking about is basically a step towards promoting or enhancing the urban economic scenario. But yeah, what are the key steps that we can take? I can see interesting question. Belonging to a small city, there is a lack of public spaces in my city. What can be the alternative for that? So like for example, the tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities can have very small, like maybe a couple of public spaces, maybe on open spaces, a small market, a small town called circles. There are certain places. What are the new things that we can have specifically in these small towns? That's another question. So maybe we'll just start with what are the key things that you think abhi, as cities abhi humko kaise karna chahiye to promote things like activities for urban economics. I know you during your presentation you have already listed on a lot of things, but if you summarize in a 2 things, what do you suggest our participant to keep focusing? Parul.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. And again, another very, very interesting question. So, urban economy is an understudied and under-addressed theme for our cities. We'd say that cities economic engines हैं, लेकिन हम कुछ ज़्यादा उस पे काम थोड़ा सा उतनी तेजी से नहीं कर रहे हैं. So I will share some examples to थोड़े structured process एक हमें लेनी है इसके लिए. So one is that we should first of all, जैसे हमारे शहरों में master plans होते हैं, similarly we need to prepare a city's economic development plan. And why that is important is that जो हम infrastructure invest करते हैं cities में, be it on water treatment or sewage treatment or waste treatment, it will be slightly different for the types of economy that we want to plan. So it is very important that that youth and the communities and your planners, officials create that vision that where we want to be in the next 10 years, 15 years. Or why the focus on youth is so important is that we are also making a industrial, like transition. So जैसे हम बात कर रहे हैं, you might have heard of this 4th industrial revolution हो रहा है, where we are talking about AI and automation and digital transformation. So what does it mean in terms of the new types of jobs, which the youth, the young cohort, जो आप लोग जो हैं, you are more adept at it, you are learning more things on applying these, which will have an economic impact. So we need to already start planning our cities. जो फ्यूचर की जो 10-15 years में जो इकोनॉमी होगी उसमें क्या इन्वेस्टमेंट करें. एंड यू कैन सी इसीलिए द एग्जांपल्स दैट आई वाज प्रेजेंटिंग वाज ऑन how to encourage, how to create that environment where the startups can be promoted, where you don't have to, as a small young entrepreneur, invest a lot of money in getting yourself an office, but how do we create those forums, those community places, something like the Pragati Maidan, but those venues where the startups you can come, you can engage, you can discuss, and who knows what the next big ideas could be. So that is one. The second counter side to it, and I'll stop there and take more questions, is that we are also a country where we are looking at this informal economy. We still have a large number of people who rely on their informal thing. You see, you have job ke food stalls, hain, you have ke cycle repair shops, hain, auto repair shops. Hain. So we also need to see how to formalize them, how to cluster them. Or in sab ke liye, one of the important first thing is to come up with a proper city economic plan. And I'll be happy to share more literature with you on if you want to do a more deep and thorough study on this.
Yes, Parul, I think that major key takeaway जो आपने कहा, that is very important, कि cities को अपने economic development के लिए plan बनाने पड़ेंगे. And by cities that we are talking about the corporation. That question that I want to link is the challenge lies in this, the presence of multiple agencies. There are a lot of parastatals. The state plays, in case of India only, there are a lot of parastatals those involved in urban economic. Majorly, the role of a corporation is not directly linked to promote to even think about the economics. Even this year topic we have selected, ताकि हमने participants को ये कहा है कि cities को हम एक service delivery body की तरह देखते हैं. And अभी जो प्रेजेंट सिनेरियोज हैं वो है उनको देखना चाहिए कि वो अपने इकोनॉमी डेवलपमेंट के लिए कैसे फोकस कर सकते. सो कैन यू शेयर सम ऑफ द आइडियाज और लर्निंग फ्रॉम आउटसाइड इंडिया, जहां आपने देखा कि जब कॉर्पोरेशंस इनिशिएटिव्स लेते हैं टू प्रमोट अबाउट देयर इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट फॉर देयर रिस्पेक्टिव सिटीज, हाउ इट हेल्प. एंड ऑल्सो इंडियन केस में अगर हम पैरास्टेटल्स का इन्वॉल्वमेंट भी करके as a development के लिए जाते हैं, तो what are the challenges and learning? I know this is tricky one, but yeah, I hope you will have some examples. Sure.
Yes. No, thanks, Aviral. And again, a very important thing on how the institutions and governance systems need to meet this new need. In most cases, and I can share this from the cities and the regions that I've worked in, economic development is not the mandate of the corporations. जो हमारे municipal corporations हैं, their mandate is on city management. When we look at the master planning, that is done by the development authority. So most cities have a separate economic development corporation, that does this thinking, and the need for that is that you need a set of experts, technical experts who are looking at the macroeconomic projections of the country, matching it to what are the natural resources in the city, its comparative advantages, putting that projections. Now, what is needed is how the corporation collaborates with them, because how do you again translate that plan, that economic development plan, into projects on ground is what corporations will do. That is their role. So that is the synergy that we need to create, and that is the type of vision we need to bring in the administrators and the officials who are running the corporation. Because unless they realize that they need to prioritize investment, because let's be practical, at any point of time we will have a lot of projects, but a very small pool of funding. And somebody has to take those tough decisions on where the funding goes, how to prioritize. And that is why we need that level of training, that level of understanding in the corporations and the parastatal agencies that make the right types of investments, and also then link them, because every rupee that is being invested into an economic activity will have a multiplier effect. So it will create revenues for the city also. So
Yes.
I have not seen any example where the corporation is preparing the plan.
So for the participant, it is important to understand you have to think about from the holistic approach. It's not about this corporation's lens. That's why I asked this specific question to Parul, because now you understand there are a lot of role played by the state governments, parastatals as well, in promoting the city economic development. So you should already think about the institutions. You have to go through your, like say, city websites, the corporation website, the parastatal website, and understand their role in the city development, right? Parul, and also think about the holistic approach. Thinking about the overall city development. It's not about the city management, specifically the service management in terms of urban economic development. Okay, perfect. I have a couple of more questions. There are a lot of questions coming up. Yeah. I can see Munnu Kalyani asked, how can urban planning promote the creation of inclusive public spaces which cater to the diverse need of different communities while stimulating local economic growth within the cities? And it also linked with a couple of questions, previous questions that also talked about the inclusive city planning and also inclusive urban planning, urban centers as well, the public spaces centers as well. So please share about how they can promote these ideas.
Yes, I think the starting point would be to generate the evidence. The work that we have been doing through our organization, through our partners, is सबसे पहले let's see what does the city actually have. That is present within its boundaries. Do some bit of spatial understanding, and what we have found, even for cities that come across as very green, and Jaipur and Bhopal. Once we do that spatial mapping, that where in the city are those green spaces? Are there any pockets in the city where they are not enough green spaces? We find that there is a spatial inequality. That there are pockets in Jaipur which are on the outskirts, जहाँ पे कोई green space नहीं है, but then you have the pockets. So that will probably like look at the inclusion aspect, where the next time the commissioner or the corporation or the parks department or any other agencies plan to plans to invest in the open spaces, they prioritize those first of all, equalizing those inequalities. Then inclusive design comes into play. And here we have a lot of tools that we have tested. There is the Her City Toolbox. If you look through our global public space program, there are toolboxes that will allow you to do an audit across different parameters of safety, inclusion, access, resilience, and so on, to also then say, okay, जो public spaces बन रहे हैं, do they have any gaps in them? So do an audit, get an evidence base together, and that is very, very important, because when you go to negotiate in your communities or with the government officials, so what's the problem? And so you need to have that data, that plan to say, okay, this is what we're talking about. And then there are a lot of different tools, methods to design the spaces. जो अभी क्वेश्चन आया था कि इनमें हम इनको इकोलॉजिकली कैसे वो करें प्रमोट. Same thing, हर public space को park होना जरूरी नहीं है. We can also create spaces within the public space which could promote the local economy, because when people come in the evening to recreate, they would also then like to do other types of activities, eating, or again forums. So at the end of the day, it really boils down to engaging with the people, understanding what आपकी जो local communities हैं, उनकी क्या ज़रूरतें हैं, and then to think creatively and find solutions that would meet everyone's needs.
Yes, Parul, and that's an interesting thing, because in their respective while they prepare for their respective competitions, they represent to understand and prepare their base. Like, for example, the data-driven policy making. So one of the things that is important is basically understand your city better, think about, collect more information, think about the data that's talk about the implementation part, talk about the planning part itself. So thank you for highlighting this point specifically. I can move to a couple of questions that have been asked by participant. Okay, I can see from participant, they're asking about there are many disadvantages also past public spaces where they can enjoy a good idea, but due to making, like, for example, the pollution is a major challenge now, like promoting ecological pattern itself. I can see a couple of questions on, like, I'm just clubbing 2-3 points. how the urban space pattern influence the homeless decisions to locate in certain places and their homeless identity. That's important. We are talking about involving vulnerable or urban poor in this whole economic development. There are a lot of incidents where, in terms of development, we think about the development and we somehow miss the most important, that is the urban poor.
Yes.
And like, I know there are a lot of discussion to promote and involve them, even right from the livelihood, the development plans and everything. But please highlight some of the initiative that the participant can involve, take in their discussions while they prepare for their competition, even for the understanding why they have to involve urban poor in all the course, in the cross-cutting themes. Please,
Yes,
can you
yes.
explain us about it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would like to really, say that that's a very insightful question to make the differentiation between urban poor and homeless. So I'll start with the urban poor. You know, when we, as a UN agency and as a global agreement that all the UN member countries have signed in 2015 was that we will work towards a future where we leave no one behind. And essentially, what that means is that we reach the farthest person first in the way we design policies, in the way we invest in our cities. And that means focusing on the urban poor. Urban poor पे इसलिए भी सोचना जरूरी है because if we look at just a laissez-faire economy, जो बिल्कुल market economy है, उसमें जो लोग हैं who have the benefit of being economically well, the market already provides for them. Just give me a second, sorry. But the actual dysfunction occurs where the urban poor are not able to get the services that they need from the market, which is where we need to we need to incentivize, we need to promote the private sector through plans, through incentives, through subsidies, so that they provide the people who are whose needs are not being met by the private sector or by the in a market context, market economy context. And urban poor को involve करना इसलिए भी जरूरी है because if we do that spatial mapping and if you all also will spend some time to reflect on the way your cities are, you will see that mostly it's your parts, it's your cities, your neighborhoods हैं जहाँ पे urban poor है, जहाँ पे low income लोग हैं, वहाँ पे amenities भी कम है, वहाँ पे schools कम है, वहाँ पे parks कम है, वहाँ पे healthcare facilities कम है. So it's all the more important कि हम जब वो equity की बात करते हैं, we need to first prioritize the urban poor as a group. Now, the other question, homelessness. So that is I really applaud whoever raised that, because homelessness is different from urban poor. And as a policy, we are not focusing a lot on the homelessness aspects because this is a group that has a lot of different types of deprivations, like a lot of challenges. The people that we see living under the flyovers, we're not really doing much, or we're not thinking a lot about how to change their livelihoods, or how to really improve their well-being. And I think that itself will become a very, very complex topic. I don't want to delve into it, but yes, I think that's an important area to start the discussion in your local communities, in your neighborhood, when you're thinking of a public space plan, that ये भी एक group है, a homeless group, जिनके लिए as a community, as a principle of human rights, there are certain certain types of projects or policies or interventions that we need to plan and implement.
Yes, Parul, and thank you for that. I believe आपके इस explanation के बाद हमारे सारे participants will definitely think about that lens also, and also involve their the points in their respective competition. I have last couple of points for you, a couple of questions. आपने जैसे जो भी solutions बताए, in the presentation you have explained about a lot of probable solution, the things that we can consider about promoting economic development. the challenge remains the sustainability of that. There are a lot of examples that some of the corporate, even in the Indian corporation, have set up certain new markets. उन्होंने street vending zones बनाए हैं, जहाँ पे even there are certain great amphitheaters as well. Public spaces उन्होंने revamp करे हैं. There are a lot of under smart city mission. There are a lot of initiatives. But the problem lies with the sustainability. कि हम कितने दिनों तक उसको continue रख सकते हैं. So the challenge remains the sustainability. I know the participant will also think about very new innovative ideas, very out of the box thinking. But also we want to highlight the importance of sustainability and replicable. So हम large scale पे कैसे ले जा सकते हैं, हम इसको sustainable कैसे कर सकते हैं, जितने भी हमने proposed solutions की बात करी है. I just wanted to give couple of minutes on that, and then we will think about final 2-3 suggestions from your end. Participants के लिए to prepare, while they prepare, as you have already given a lot of points, but last 2-3 points after this explanation about the sustainability, last 2-3 points जो participant को ध्यान रखने चाहिए while they prepare for this competition, and also think about city as a new lens. So we'll end with that. Parul, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's another very important point, Aviral. And I see that cities are already starting to put some thought into it. जैसे भी काफी सारे जो projects हो रहे हैं smart city mission के अंदर, as part of the proposal उन्होंने requirement रखी थी that you have to show that there is an operation maintenance budget already set aside for a certain period of time, just to at least start talking about this exact concept that you have spoken about. कि infrastructure तो बना दिया आपने, building तो बना दी, but who will maintain it? So that is something that a lot of national, state level missions are talking about, and which is where we talk about, you must have heard a lot of this public-private partnerships, coming in, and the sustainability, जो long-term maintenance वाला होता है, which is exactly that discussion with the local communities, with their private, group, and the city. On what would make it viable, who would put the funds in, and that varies with different types of assets. So आपके open spaces, parks हैं, उनकी maintenance cost बहुत ही different होगी from your amphitheaters, from your convention centers, and that is why it is all the more important, especially when it comes to the parks and open spaces. जो हम ये public spaces की बात कर रहे हैं, and here I want to leave out the buildings like convention centers, but literally, your plazas, your gardens, जिनकी maintenance cost can be easily taken care of by local communities themselves, by CSR funds. There are so many new avenues now to bring in financing, because as a per because the costs of maintenance isn't that much compared to more complex asset like a stadium, for instance.
Yes, so that gives a very important, interesting point for participant to consider. While you think about your probable solutions, also think about the sustainability, think about the scalability, and also think about the sustainability part, कि आपका resource management कैसे जाएगा. आप अपने जब आप as a mayor कुछ चीजें propose करें अपनी policies में, while you are proposing something in your respective policy presentation, also think about the city budgets. The provisions in the city budgets, the provisions that you will keep in the proposal that you will propose for sustainability or promoting urban economics, to also consider all these points that we have discussed today. With that, I know this was an interesting session. They gave us a lot of discussion points, also a lot of learning to think about the new the cities that we are living in. आज हमने देखा कि हम कैसे बहुत सारे पॉइंट्स, बहुत सारे छोटे छोटे इनिशिएटिव्स ले सकते हैं टू प्रिपेयर आवर सिटी बेटर फॉर द फ्यूचर. ऑल्सो द मेन चैलेंज रिमेन्स द सेम, कि हम कैसे जितने भी सॉल्यूशंस की हम बात कर रहे हैं उसको सस्टेनेबल कर सकते हैं, कैसे हमारे कॉर्पोरेशंस, हमारे पैरास्टेटल इंस्टीट्यूशन एट कोर गवर्नेंस को ध्यान रख सकते हैं. एंड आई होप दिस होल डिस्कशन ultimately gives a lot of points to you while preparing for the competition. I hope we have answered most of the questions, but jinke bhi answers remaining hai, we will take all the questions and will definitely love to answer. My team will now handhold you for the preparation of Prajatantra competitions. And we are really excited to host you in next week for the qualifying round. We all wish you a luck for the preparation, and also will eagerly waiting for your ideas in terms of mayor speech competition, the policy presentations. And I hope all these knowledge sessions, right from urban governance, the water management, the finance, and today's session, the Parul's point, I will definitely help all participants to prepare for their respective competition. With that, on behalf of Praja Foundation, on behalf of UN Habitat, and on behalf of National Institute of Urban Affairs, and all the the whole organizing team of Prajatantra, our coordinators and the participant, we thank you, our speaker, Parul, our participant, those who are participating in the knowledge session, and all the colleges, those who are participating in this competition. With that, I just wanted to end our knowledge session, and also request all participants to subscribe to our social media handles of UN Habitat, National of Urban Affairs, Praja Foundation, to get more details about the upcoming event, the schedule. My team members from Prajatantra team will definitely handhold you now for next week to prepare for the individual competition. With that, I want to thank all participants and whole team. Congratulations for successfully organizing all knowledge sessions. And thank you, Parul, so much for being a part of the discussion.
Thank you, my pleasure, and good luck to all the participants and contestants. I'm really looking forward to hearing all your ideas.
And we are really excited to have our youngest champ in our discussion today. He is also learning a lot about the city development. So we'll hope to have a participation, good understanding of a young champ. With that, I wanted to conclude. Thank you so much for participating, and we end this session. Thank you. Thank you, Parul.